the Chinese delegation came to me and said, you know, this is terrible. We're going to move much more aggressively. 1.2 million people died because of the pollution put up into the air by coal burning plants. And so for them, the cost was very real in lives. If you go to some of the small island countries, and many of them are members of the World Bank Group, the cost is very real in terms of the water rising in so much that they're going to lose their country over the next decade and a half or so. In other words, there's something that's costing the world a lot, and we haven't put a price on it. So now we've got 73 countries that represent 52% of global GDP who've now committed, along with 1,000 companies, major companies, to move toward getting a price on carbon.
So who would you say is doing this really well? I mean, when you look around the world right now, and you look at the United States even, and you look at, say, California, can you point to a specific example of places that have got it right?
So California is doing really, really well. The Philippines is doing really well. I mean, the Philippines, if you look, they were just hit by Hurricane Yolanda, Cyclone Yolanda. I was just there meeting with President Aquino, and what he told me was, this is very real to us. You know, climate change is very, very real to us, and we can't believe that it's not real for everyone else.
Well, I mean, that's the big issue, right? Getting enough countries to recognize that it is a threat and getting everyone to respond. Right. You say China's making some headway on that.
China's making headway, and so this statement on needing a price on carbon, China, Russia, and the European Union all signed on. I mean, we were hoping they would, but we were a little bit surprised that they went so far as to say, we want to go on record as saying there should be a price on carbon and we'll help you get there.
You were surprised by some of them. Russia, China.
Well,
probably.
I mean, these were big emitters, and now what they're saying is, we understand the inevitability of a price on carbon, and we want to be part of the conversation.
ECB President Mario Draghi spoke today. He spoke in Brussels and talked about some of the concerns regarding growth expectations. The expectation overall is that we're going to see serious quantitative easing out of the Eurozone. Will that help? Will that change things? Is that the right policy?
Well, we sure hope so. And they're going to be buying some bonds. I mean, it's going to take time, but I think we've learned some lessons. I mean, one of the lessons we've learned is even at very low interest rates, central bankers can still have an impact. And I think he's also learned from what happened in the United States that prior to the current period of very unconventional monetary policy, I mean, the notion was that once you get interest rates low, there's really nothing more you can do. What we found is that I think in the U.S., with the growth numbers looking very solid for next year and the year after that, that these very unconventional monetary policies seem to have had an impact. Now, many people will say we're in uncharted territory. The kind of debt to GDP ratios we're seeing, we're really in uncharted territory. But I don't think that Mario Draghi has much of a choice. I mean, it's tough. To get fiscal deficits down, they've got to make some really tough political decisions. But what we're saying is
Isn't that tough when you don't have a united fiscal and monetary union.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so difficult. But I have to say, I took over this job in July of 2012. And at that time, remember what we were talking about, Trish? We were talking about, is Greece going to be part of the EU? Is the euro going to survive? And each time...
I think those questions are off the table?
Well, I mean, I think, Greece is doing better. I mean, I think Southern Europe, there's some real bright spots. You can't judge things by bond spreads, for example, because, you have to look deeper than just the bond spreads that these countries are receiving. But we see some real, people have taken some real action. They've made some real reforms. Now we need to see those reforms being enacted throughout the European Union, and it's hard.